Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and definitely looking forward to any questions and conversation we have after the presentations. Let's see here. So about 60 years or so ago, John Hertz, the transportation disruptor, and his wife, Fanny, they believed that to safeguard the nation's strength and to preserve our economic vitality, that we needed to make substantial investments in science and technology. And their belief was that to do this, an important part of investing was in the early career of scientists, engineers, mathematicians. And that catalyzed the start of the Fanny and John Hertz Foundation, which for the last 60 years now has been investing in some of the nation's most promising innovators and providing them both financial support for a full PhD, as well as lifelong support in their careers so that they can achieve their best and help solve some of the nation's most pressing challenges. So as examples, Emily Trim's a PhD student at Stanford University. She's interested in combining genomics and biophysical techniques to answer some of the biggest unanswered questions we have about human disease. Roderick Bayless, he is interested in designing more efficient, power-dense electronics, a step towards reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. What really ties together Hertz Fellows is that they have this, both an intrinsic curiosity and talent, combined with purpose, that they want to help strengthen the nation and build our scientific and technical leadership. From the foundation's perspective, one of the things that we really do with our fellowship is provide these young, promising innovators with the freedom and flexibility that they need to advance their career and pursue the research that they're interested in. John Mather, one of our fellows who's won the Nobel Prize, is also the principal scientist for the James Webb Space Telescope, which has, of course, been in the news a lot recently. And he attributes a lot of his career success to the Hertz Foundation because of the freedom that the fellowship gave him to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes and then come back and try again. And it was an early boost to his career. And so that's really a really important principle of the Hertz Foundation and the fellowship that we offer. As you would imagine, over the last 60 years, the fellowship has grown to a cohort of about 1,200 or so fellows. And these span now generations, scientific disciplines, sectors. We have fellows that are now leaders in government and industry, entrepreneurs, academia, nonprofit. And it's a unique community that, you could not comprise anywhere else. And so fellows that are applying to the program now, in addition to the financial and professional support they get, are really looking to this community to support their career growth, for mentoring and internships and so forth. And it's a really large part of the value proposition of the Hertz Fellowship. It's a really engaged and influential community. And from the foundation's perspective, fellows are the most important advocates we have. Largely, that is how our fellows found out about the fellowship in the first place, is they heard from a friend who knew about it or had applied. And so they are the biggest champions we have and provide immense value to the growth of the program and helping us achieve our impact. They also volunteer their time, resources, expertise on our advisory council, as well as interviewers during the process of evaluating potential candidates. They're also a very engaged and generous pool of donors. And in this graph here, I've shared from our financial report from last year, you can see that fellows give consistently across every year, and nearly half of all fellows have given. And that is one of the highest rates of giving for alumni in the country. I think the most important thing to never forget is that the fellows community can also be a force multiplier for science and technology. And we've seen a number of examples coming from the community that could not have happened without it. And just as one quick example, we have 3 fellows John Frank, Dan Roberts, and Max Kleiman Wine, who were fellows that met at a workshop some years ago and got to talking, and they kind of bounced around ideas about an artificial intelligence product and ended up turning that into a company called Diffio. And later that software was purchased by Salesforce. And these are the kinds of stories that come about because of the community and would not have otherwise. And there are other examples of fellows that meet serendipitously, and it's that sharing of ideas, cross-pollination between fields and interests that can lead to things that are much greater than they would have been otherwise. And this has been recognized by the foundation over the last 20 years, but as we've evolved our thinking in the recent years, we've started to realize that community is a critical part of the growth of the foundation and maximizing our impact. And so the last year or so, the foundation has been working on a strategic plan, and we have 4 key pillars that we've identified. The first is enhancing the model of the fellowship. So this could be both increasing the number of fellows as well as the mechanics of how it works or what is offered to the fellows while they're in school. The second is the creation of a one-of-a-kind community of fellows. And that's, of course, the focus of this discussion. The third is enhancing diverse pipelines to fuel innovation, improve and bolster our applicants. And then finally, to develop mutually beneficial partnerships. As you look at each of these things, it's very easy to draw lines for how a community could impact and also be influenced by the growth of these other strategic planning themes. Right now, our staff, we are a small staff, and we're distributed across the country in the Bay Area, Boston, and the Washington, D.C. area. And a large part of our organization is focused on the fundraising and the fellowship, but we all have a consistent value across the board, which is that we know the community plays a critical role and can play a much larger role going forward. So as part of the strategic plan, the first step basically was to staff the position of the director of community, and we actually worked with CSCE on this. You probably know Lou Woodley, and we consulted with her, and I formed a team also with our fellowship director, Derek Hazeltine, to basically re-envision this position. And we went through the full process of starting from scratch about how we'd like this role to contribute. So we worked with Lou to develop position description. We built evaluation criteria for how we wanted to assess candidates, worked through the screening of, I think we had 200 applicants for this position, developed an interview process that would kind of hit the applicants from different directions to make sure that they could kind of see through different layers of the position, interviewed them, and finally made a selection. And you, of course, know Ann Cornarens, who is our director of community, re-envisioned. The role that we wanted Ann to play, and which she's done exactly as we'd wanted and more, was really to be a strategic thought partner and a strategic thinker that could look at the entirety of the organization, identify where community could play a role, contribute to the strengths, but also draw from them. She is a relationship builder and integrates her thinking across all aspects of the organization, while executing down to the details, because these are really soup to nuts positions. And so you're really pulled in lots of different directions and need to be able to manage all that at once. So Ann has done an amazing job pulling this all together, and could not be happier. The strategic planning process was the first thing that Ann really had to dive into, really thrown into the fire, because it was so critical to have that in place before she started to, implement some of her ideas. And so within just a few months, she conducted a landscape analysis of the organization, conducted listening sessions with dozens of fellows and stakeholders. She collaborated with our advisory council to build a strategic plan and then present it to the board a few months later and got approval for her recommendations to proceed. And so we are now about a year into the tenure of having our new director of community, and now beginning some of the real implementation. So just a few of the early successes that I wanted to share, and a little bit about what's next. In addition to developing that community pillar of the strategic plan, which sort of sets the groundwork for everything else, and also led the first summer workshop that we've had in 3 years. The summer workshop is the annual event where we have hundreds of fellows come together for a few days of collaboration and thinking on some critical topics. We did this year's in Boston, and it was a really big step in sort of professionalizing the experience and bringing some intention to it that we perhaps lost while COVID had prevented these kind of events from taking place. She's installed a local events program across the country that enables fellows to get support for local events in person. She's done wonderful collaboration with our advisory council of fellows, who of course are volunteering their time and getting them to contribute their strengths, identifying needs, and bringing on new volunteers to fill roles that were not previously filled. And then I think another critical aspect of what we've done is we've made an emphasis on made sure to put an emphasis on continuing her professional development in community engagement. So taking courses with CSCCE and kind of looking forward to what kind of skills need to be developed to continue to build out our community program. In terms of what's next, well, we've been talking a little bit about the fourth pillar of our strategic plan, which is how we could leverage partnerships to maximize the foundation's impact, and where the community could draw from that and contribute. How we could use digital platforms to engage and create a more connected community. And then finally, data, which is really the backdrop for making decisions and understanding your community and being able to talk about them in an educated way. And so we're looking forward to what's next, and all that we've accomplished so far. We're really proud of it. So I'm happy to answer any other questions about that, and I'm sure Ann is as well. So I will say thank you.